Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the United States of a Movie podcast. We are the movie podcast that makes every Monday a fun day because we get together, we talk movies, but we also have a purpose because here at the United States of a Movie, we want to find one movie to define each state in the United States. But right now, we're currently between seasons. We're doing some specials that we've wanted to do after spending 65 weeks watching movies every now and again. You know, wouldn't it be fun to talk about this? And this week, we're doing shopping mall themed movies. And I have to be honest, this was a great choice. We've got 3 movies for you this week, though. To be honest, we're mostly going to be talking about one that has been living rent-free in my head all week. My name is Ollie Pettigrew. I love movies. I used to host movie shows back in Asia. Movies are the way I love to talk, relax, have fun, and everything else in between. And I found 2 amazing co-hosts who love movies just as much, if not more than me. Let's welcome them back to the show. Ryan Sander, buddy. What happened to your beard? I've got more beard than you, bud.
So the good news is I've taken the substance. The bad news is I got it off of Temu. So do with that information what you will.
I have to see that movie, man. Everyone is talking about that movie.
Yeah. Everyone should see that movie. It's fantastic.
Your poster redesign was very good.
Well. Thank you.
I'm very excited about that one. Yeah. Also, right here, looking fantastic with those. Look at, are your eyes bluer than usual? Well, you're looking.
I was gonna say, man.
I also took the substance.
Oh shit.
But I got mine from Sharper Image, so I spent a little extra money on mine.
Oh shit! I just took Prozac, man. I've clearly got to take some.
Dude, you get your substance off Temu. You get your dick pills at the gas station. That's pretty much it.
That's all you need. That's the rules. That's how you stay. But healthy.
Never the twain shall meet.
Oh yeah, no.
But the taint shall. All right, guys. So we had a really interesting week this week.
I just want to say, I like that we're doing all these special episodes. We're going to hold off on season 2 till after the election because there just might not be any states anymore.
Yeah.
So we're really padding this one out.
Season 2 is we just do Pan Am once and we're done.
Yeah. There's only 3 states apparently, so there we go.
Well, after watching Civil War. No, guys, this was actually an interesting one because first,
I like this one.
It just made me somewhat nostalgic for and miss the mall. The mall used to be such, and even not just in America, even in the UK, right? Malls, even in Singapore, you know, the thing is, it used to be like the center of where you would go, and now just malls are this depressing, dying, just facade of what life used to be, and it's like we haven't accepted that they're dead yet. And this, you know, this was, in so many ways, made me miss what they used to be.
It's fascinating when you watch older movies with malls because the dynamic of stores have changed. While there's still malls around now, it's mostly clothing, right? But back in the day, there were like straight up fucking hardware stores and gun stores.
Well, yes, one of these movies for sure like reminded us that back in the 80s, in a mall, you could get everything you needed to
paint?
Stage
paint?
a coup.
Yeah.
I'm heading down to the mall for paint and guns.
Paint, shotguns, explosives, you know.
Yeah, it made me really nostalgic for that time. I'm reading Heat 2 right now, and it's funny because there's a section in there where they're in Argentina and they're like in an Argentinian mall, and even that's making me like nostalgic for all like the stuff that's selling like because if you back in the day you found like a crummier mall, you would see stuff that's selling like bootleg electronics and stuff.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
That was awesome. I love that. So even that like made me be like, I miss malls, man.
That's true. I remember, like in when I lived in Hong Kong and stuff like that, there were specific malls that you went to for. That's where you get the pirated software. This is where you get the rip-off, you know, this, that, and the other. It's like the dodgy malls kind of thing. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, those were the best, man. And I feel like we're missing out on that. Having that as like a really unique third space, you know, nowadays.
Well,
you just don't really get that
anymore. Used to be, you know, the social space. You know, you'd go as a teenager, you're not buying anything. You're just basically, window shopping, and then you bump into other people, and then shenanigans would happen. That's how your day would get
You'd-
started.
You'd see Genghis Khan in the sporting goods section. You'd see Beethoven playing the piano. Like you'd have all these things.
It'd be great. I love the Joan of Arc aerobics class. That's the
Yeah,
one I took.
sure. Yeah. It's a shame that mall just closed out here in the last couple of years, you know?
Oh,
Yeah,
Bill
no
and Ted Mall.
way.
Yeah.
I will say there was one moment when I was watching one of these movies when I go, this is the same mall from Commando. And I looked it up, and it is true.
Right?
It
Oh, shit,
absolutely is. Yes.
I know that lift, that elevator. That's where Arnold
Ah,
swung
yeah.
across the mall and
Yep,
landed on
for
top.
sure.
And I'm like, that's when you know you've watched movies far too much, when you can
Yeah.
recognize a mall from
You
its
recognize the
elevator.
set. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. For sure. I do
Well-
that with the Bradbury building. I'm like, everything is shot here.
There's so many it's those moments when you're like, oh my god, it's that's when I realized I watched Commando 700 times and I probably should have done something else with my childhood. But you know what? Was I
No.
right? Wrong. That movie is amazing.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into the movies that we chose this week. As always, we've got 3 movies. We'll start with mine. The movie that I just instinctually kind of went for. You know what? I'm glad I did. It's a movie that I do enjoy. It's like it does exactly what it says on the tin. It doesn't
Yep.
do anything new, but what it is doing, it does, it's a good homage. I picked 2004 Zack Snyder movie, his first theatrical feature
Yeah.
debut, Dawn of the Dead. It's his sort of Romero sort of remake. I remember it coming out and it getting some pretty good buzz. It stars Sarah Polley, who was in everything once, and then I haven't seen her again.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go.
Ving
That's
Rhames,
it. That's right.
Yeah, Jake Weber, Mekhi Phifer, Ty Burrell, et al. A bunch of people turn up in that movie.
Yeah.
And I'm like I said, you know what? I enjoy it. It's a quick. All of the movies I think this week were sort of tight 90s, if not tight 75s in
Yeah.
some cases.
Yeah.
Though one of these movies did feel like it was 3 hours long, and it was Ryan's movie. Ryan, tell us about your movie quickly.
I picked 2009's Observe and Report, a movie that was so sadly overshadowed by another mall movie that came out
Paul
at the same
Blart.
time. Paul Blart just fucking skyrocketed, and I adore this movie. I love the combination of Jody Hill and Danny McBride and all them working together. I love how dark and kind of fucked up this movie is, and I enjoy
It's
it.
dark. That's what caught me off guard. To begin with, the
Yeah.
movie starts, and I'm like, okay. And then, by the end of it, I'm like, I enjoyed Paul Blart more. But it's kind of like, because I thought I was getting a comedy, and what I actually got was The Cable Guy. It was
Yeah,
that
it's
kind
pretty.
of,
It's a very dark comedy.
A
yeah.
little bit. Yeah.
Subject matter, yeah, which I enjoyed. I think nobody really got to see this in the theater because again, everyone was like, well, I'm gonna pick the Kevin James Segway movie, sure,
right, as
versus
opposed to the sort of
Seth
somewhat
Rogen.
troubling bipolar mental health commentary.
Yeah,
Sort of like, did she just get raped? No, she said okay,
yeah,
kind of movie.
yeah, and that's just a testament to because I think I'd seen The Foot Fist Way forever ago. It's like a movie, a rite of passage. Like you see it on the DVD, it was just passed around. And then I absolutely adore one of my favorite shows is Eastbound and Down. That I went on to love Vice Principals and Righteous Gemstones. They're also very similar in tone, funny, but very dark in some subject matter. And this movie kind of fits within that. And my only negative in this movie is that I wish it were Danny McBride in the lead role instead of Seth Rogen, but I know Will feels otherwise.
Yeah. I don't want to be too negative on Danny McBride. I think I made my opinion on him clear in the past. Probably a sweet dude, probably a super nice. So I want to make that clear. I've never heard anything bad about him. Just he doesn't click with me. Just in terms of his comedy. I saw this movie forever and ever ago. I think, Lucy, I know you're listening to this. Ask Michael when we watched this, because I remember specifically he and I had a pretty big reaction to the final big climax of this movie, where we were just kind of turned to each other. We were like, "What are we watching?"
It is, yeah. I had that a couple of times just myself. Because it stars Seth Rogen, Anna Faris, Michael Pena. He's funny.
Fantastic.
He's just having a
Fantastic.
ball. But
Yeah.
but Ray Liotta. The thing that I was really surprised about was I spent the whole movie going, whoa, as in just the cast.
Jesse
just-
Plemons, yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. That's what I mean. Every sort of few moments, it just gets more and more as Aziz Ansari,
Yeah.
rocks up.
The one scene
Oswald
that the
rocks
scene
up.
they have together is so good. And seeing, oh my God, the girl behind the counter, I forget her name. I'm so sorry, but
Anna
it
Faris?
was no. That works at like the Cinnabon place that gives them the
Oh,
coffee.
Oh yes.
Yeah,
Colette
AKA
Wolfe?
the teacher from Interstellar that we just
Yes,
watched.
I was going to say it's the teacher goes, "Oh, you think no, we're the new
Yeah.
federally mandated that's talking about how the moon landings were
Right.
weird." I was like, "Wait, that's the chick!" Yeah, I was like,
I think she's also in the Foot Fist Way and like Hot Tub Time Machine and some other
Hot
stuff.
Tub
but
Time Machine. Yeah. No, yeah,
But-
she was. This movie did
I liked
have.
it. Yeah.
It does have an absolutely banging cast, but it just gets weirdly dark.
Yeah.
And then
I think
it's
it catches people off guard for sure.
well, it caught me off guard.
Yeah.
And there's like a couple of moments because I saw. So I understand that you've gone deep into the sort of like the sort of the Jodie Hill kind of like library of things, but I saw Jodie Hill and I go, oh, it's written and directed by a woman. And then as the movie went on, I go, what is wrong with this woman? It's like, so when you finally reveal to me that Jodie Hill's a dude, I'm like, oh, thank God. All right, that makes a lot more sense because I was really worried about this woman and like her strange sense of humor and troubling approach to women at times. So it's like...
Why is she so obsessed with this one guy's dick? Like, you know.
Dude, yeah, and then we end up with that. Oh my God, that's right, the flasher scene at the end. Though, okay, I look, listeners, watchers of this episode, just be forewarned. I'm going to talk about two movies very quickly, and I'm going to want to spend the rest of my life talking about one movie that I will forever recommend to everybody in the world. And the fact that it is available right now for free on YouTube to watch should mean that every single one of you,
You've no excuse.
you have to watch this movie. Will, tell us about the absolute piece of cinema that you brought to the table this week. I cannot wait to talk about this movie.
If I brought you this movie and I told you, hey, we're watching Chopping Mall, you would probably assume this is about, oh, a slasher in a mall in the 80s. What a great idea. No, idiot. That's not what this movie's about, you big dum-dum. It's clearly about 3 robots who lose control and start laser blasting everybody in sight.
Yeah,
Really it's a metaphor, really.
Yeah.
Well, it's if Short Circuit took place in a mall, was R-rated, had 3 of them, and it had 80s boobs in it. It's basically the exact same premise, just a bit murdery.
The perfect movie.
And the movie
agree.
opens with the cold open of this movie is great because it
Brilliant.
really sets the tone for everything.
Yeah.
It's really something else. Quite the presentation.
It's a 1986. Now, correct me. Is this a Roger Corman movie? This is a Corman movie.
I think it is technically. I think he's producer on it. I don't know if it's officially like one of his Corman productions, but he did work on it.
Well, it is it's a Concord Pictures, which was a Corman, and like the people that made it said that he was very much like giving them advice and stuff like that. Irrelevant of that, ladies and gents, it is a 1986 movie starring people. Okay, no one you'll recognize. Just
shout out to Barbara Crampton. Come on.
I mean, okay, we did try that. Yeah, okay, Barbara Crampton. There was
declined to be on this episode.
Refused. Not enough robots on this.
But it tells the story of, for no reason, state-of-the-art security robots are being launched in this mall that then gets struck. Lightning strikes the mall
multiple times, many times.
And it's like I said, just like Short Circuit, but instead of them becoming adorable, they just become pure murder bots. They are kill bots. They've got, for some reason, lasers that can cut through anything. That's an important thing to have in a mall.
Right.
And a classic group of, like, I guess it's 8 late teens, early 20-somethings get together, and we get to enjoy the movie rule of anyone that fucks dies. And that is exactly what happens in this movie.
Yeah. And some of these teens work in the mall, and some of them work on cars.
I
and
was unsure about that. There was a few plot lines that never got followed.
But the idea is like, we're going to hang out when the mall closes in the furniture store that my dad owns, or no, the doesn't matter.
One of them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, the Playboy Playmate, her dad owns the clothing store. Whatever. Jesus Christ, this movie's insane.
Look,
But yeah,
we will get to it, right?
Yeah, okay.
I'm saving it for last because, like I said,
Okay.
it's going to be the majority of this podcast.
It's gonna be
But just to
dark
sort
by
of-
the time.
to give you guys an idea of like, if you don't know this movie, it's often you'll talk about like when people start meddling with movies or this, that, and the other, they can ruin them. In this case, it was test screened under the title Killbots. It performed very poorly. They cut 19 minutes out of the movie and they achieved
90? 90?
19. I know, I wish. No, they cut 19 minutes out of the movie and created pure just gold. And honestly, the fact it is called Chopping Mall is
Irrelevant.
just, it's perfect. It is a perfect title.
It's
for
a great
movie.
play on words that makes absolutely no sense for this
I don't
movie.
Yeah.
care.
No, I agree.
Yeah,
It's just-
no, I'm
yeah.
totally on board.
I couldn't think of a better title. And it's a crime we don't have 10 of these movies.
Oh no.
Oh
it's-
yeah.
And the thing is, you know what? Like, it's the interesting thing is that it's a piece of shit, but it is also by far the best movie we watched this week. It is the movie that knew what it wanted. It had a
Yeah.
vision, and when Will like hit the text thread and goes, "This movie is pure cinema," he's not wrong.
Yeah.
Like, more people need to just swing for the fences with their crazy ideas and just go,
Agreed.
no, we're doing it, because this movie was a joy.
I
It was
think too,
a joy.
Will and I had talked about, I went to the theater last weekend to see Terrifier 3, and like walking up there was the marquee for Kyle Mooney's Y2K, which then reminded me, I'm
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, I get to watch Chopping Mall this weekend. And I'm like, I can't wait for that. So to your point, yes, it's great to see people doing fucking wild, weird shit with robots.
Yeah.
Love that.
Robots. Yeah, I'm super stoked for Y2K. That movie looks awesome.
So we're gonna roll back. We're gonna start with the dark one. And when I say the dark one, I don't mean the one where robots are killing people. I don't mean the one where zombies are killing people. I mean the one where a bipolar security guard can't make it into the police corps, so in many ways becomes an incel potential mall shooter. But it's a comedy.
But in a good way? Question mark.
Yeah. What?
Well, it was the 90s. So.
It was definitely not. It was definitely very much not.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I love this movie. I love this dark kind of fucked up humor. That's kind of my wheelhouse. Obviously, if you've been listening,
If you've spent
for
5
free.
minutes listening to this podcast.
yeah. But I like how dark it is, and I like how fucked up it is, and it's just a very different take on your prototypical mall movie. Sure, there's no robots. Sure, there's no zombies, but it's a cry for mental health. That's for sure.
It's like
Yeah.
the Joker.
Yeah.
Right.
But
I,
But I like
wa-
the opening
what's the-
few minutes of the movie
Yeah.
made me very nostalgic for them all. It's just getting all of those bits. It's,
Oh, okay. I
it's
thought you meant the
little
flashers.
train, it's the it's the everything that even the mall walkers. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you know,
they
the
get there early.
comedies.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
used to
that-
work at a mall out here in Arizona, Arizona Mills Mall, and that kind of getting there early to open the store, and then you have just the typical waves of people that come in at certain times of the day. It was very like reminiscent of that for sure.
Mhm.
I myself can't wait to be a early morning mall walker.
One day. I mean, we used to do that in Singapore because it was just so bloody hot. You'd go to the mall because it was free air
Yeah.
conditioning.
True.
It's just let's just spend 2 hours walking around in cold air. Yeah, like so we were talking about it being pretty dark, and honestly, even Warner Brothers, they were concerned about the dark subject matter. They demanded a lighter, softer version of the film, but when they screened that, it tested even worse.
I bet.
So-
Yeah, I
So
can't.
they were like,
Yeah.
okay, stick with what you were going for, kind of thing.
Yeah, you can't thread that needle. You can't go like one way or the other. I think if you're going to go dark, you kind of have to lean into it. And there are certain glimmers where you can see they tried to add a little bit more brevity to it or levity, but I like the darkness of it, and it's shockingly violent too. at
Yeah.
times.
I actually liked that too. I don't think a lighter tone would have worked for this movie. I think it was appropriate that it was actually kind of dark. Those were the things I liked about it. I think where I kind of bristled against it is just the style of comedy, in terms of like how they're, I can tell when characters are improvising or like
Right.
actors are improvising. And that sometimes I'm like, this movie, it calls for a little bit more craft when it's like because the subject matter is so dark, where I'm like, I'm fine with it being a dark comedy in the dark tone, but the scene where Aziz Ansari and Seth Rogen are
I
like
love that.
saying
So
"fuck you"
cute.
back and forth, but it's like it goes on so long, and I'm like, I know this is improvised, so I'm like getting detached from the scene, and I'm just like,
I
okay,
disagree.
it's
Like,
losing
for,
me a bit.
for me, it was like every cut back and forth, them doing it in different ways was just very like the progression of it, where he's just like,
See, I'm with
very
Will
fun.
and I'm with Ryan because I was with Will going, they're drawing it out. But like I said, I talked about it before. It's the Family Guy way of it's funny, it stops being funny, but they keep doing it and becomes
Yeah.
funny again because
It's
they're
the
still doing it.
it's funny one time, it's funny 3 times, and it's funny 17 times. Like that's the, whatever the numbers, the algorithm is for that. But yeah, I think to your point too, this is very much a 2009 Seth Rogen driven vehicle.
Yeah,
And him, like, he's my weakest link in this movie, but I can't, because in my mind, having seen everything else Danny McBride did, like in my mind, I'm like, I think it would have been better with him. It would have been even darker, but Seth Rogen, weirdly adds this like little bit of vulnerability. You kind of feel sad for him
For sure.
sometimes.
I mean,
mhm.
I was interesting that you bring that up because I'm watching it going, oh wow, this is before we met the real Seth Rogen. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, because
Yeah.
Seth Rogen is now a very successful producer, writer. Like, he gets involved with things like The Boys. He gets involved with all of these really interesting adaptations, and they put these really sort of interesting layers into it.
Mm.
And it was like, and then seeing this sort of babyface Seth Rogen, and then I was remembering the movies that we saw him in, when he's doing Knocked Up, or he tried this, or he tried
Right.
that, and then he kind of found his niche, which is kind of just vulnerable and kind of funny and kind of goofy,
Mhm. Yeah.
Whereas this one was like it was quite going back to what you were saying, Will, about like moments of improv. Is I feel like 40-Year-Old Virgin and Anchorman are two
Mhm.
great movies that ruined comedy for a while
Mm.
because they had incredible moments in the movies when they were improving and the scenes were great. And
Mhm.
then I think people were like, hey, what if we just improv whole movies, which was Anchorman 2, which is why
Right.
Anchorman 2 doesn't
Just
work.
just weird vignettes and scene. Like
Yeah, it's
there's no
just
structure
people
to it. Yeah.
riffing. Yeah, and
Yeah.
then they go,
Mhm.
oh, do you
Yeah.
want to see the alternate version of Anchorman 2? Because we had so much different improv. We
Yeah.
put an entirely different movie. And I go, that's a problem. You
Yeah.
can't fix everything in the edit with just improv because, like Will's saying, it takes me out of it too.
Yeah.
Because then there's the other kind of writing and directing, which is like the Edgar Wright approach, which is every beat and comedy beats there. Like,
Right.
you know what the camera's going to do in that moment to whip to the next bit to make the joke happen. And I think there has to be some structure because when you let the improv go too far, I'm with Will. I'm
Yeah.
suddenly pulled out of it and I go, oh, these guys are just riffing.
Yeah, when you watch like the YouTube clips or whatever of like let's hypothetical, like the alternate takes of Bridesmaids, or like a
Mhm.
movie like that where it's just 10 minutes of the same line read in like a number of different ways, I kind of get pulled out of it. But again, for its time, that was just how comedy, that's kind of
Yeah.
how it evolved into that, that's just what it
No,
was.
see, I'm okay with that version of find the funniest version of the line.
Okay.
Find the best punchline, but the setup's there. You know what I mean? It's like
Mm.
instead of the whole scene, because this comes from a guy that does improv, right? I love
Mhm.
doing improv and it's really fun, but there's also something to be said about if you're going to do a comedy movie, write the comedy
Yeah,
first.
the structure. Yeah, for sure.
Be funny. So, like, but this one, I feel like this movie couldn't figure out what it wanted to be in much the same way that Seth Rogen in this movie, I feel like he hasn't figured out who he wants to be or how he wants to be. That this movie is
Mm.
like, oh, we're going to be funny. Oh, we're going to be dark. Oh, we're going to be controversial. Oh, we're going to be this. And I'm like, make your mind up. What kind of movie
I,
do you want to be?
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like it just needed a couple dials twisted to really get, for me anyway. I didn't hate this movie at all.
I didn't hate it. But I did feel like
Yeah,
it dragged. It dragged for me. I'm going to say it. I paused it like 2 times.
yeah,
Go and do
but
something and come back.
there were definitely things that like really did work for me. I love the twins. I thought they were fantastic.
The twins are great. My favorite. I mean, you can't beat the montage with him and Michael Pena's character
Yeah,
from fucking
The
beginning
drug
to
date?
end.
Yeah.
And then
so
it
good.
it cuts like the very end of them walking, and he's like, "Wow, thanks, man. I really needed that today." Like they
Yeah.
did all of that in a day.
Right.
Like it's fucking.
Yeah.
It
It
cuts to
reminded
him
me of
shooting fucking.
wet hot
ahead.
American summer scene.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I love that.
Yeah.
I love the absurdist, like I loved, David Wayne type movies and stuff like that. Like I really love that stuff. That's why we're so fucking obsessed with Tim Robinson.
hmm
But like the progression of that where he's trying to get him, he's like, man, you're overthinking this too much. You're taking this shit too seriously. Like you need to learn how to work the system. And then the reveal is like, we glazed over the plot of this movie is that someone is targeting this mall and robbing it, and you come to find out that it's this one of the security guards. And the reveal of that is the betrayal and that whole thing where he fucking knocks him out, steals the car. That shot of him driving through the mall is fucking awesome.
That
Like,
was a great shot.
like from the back perspective, he gets in the car, puts the radio on, puts the top down, and it's a one continuous shot of him driving through. I thought that was really rad.
No, was it? I was like, are they going to go through the door? Oh, wow, they are.
Yeah.
Good shot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Great, great needle drop too. I love that.
Yeah.
There was some good music. And the thing is, it's like, the thing is, because I remember the trailer for this movie, and the trailer somewhat promises kind of a Paul Blartian kind of.
Yeah. I don't even remember the trailer, but I'm sure it was cut that way to make it seem like a tentpole comedy starring the guy who did Super
Yeah,
Troopers,
exactly.
or excuse me, Superbad or whatever.
But it was
Yeah.
because you had the bits where they're sort of like riding around on the little scooter thing and beating up the skateboarders and just
Yeah.
it seemed kind of absurdist, but we have that undercurrent of, oh, he's got psychological issues. Oh,
They're on a lot of drugs. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he stops taking the drugs, but we never kind of actually fully explored
The scene
stop
of
taking the bipolar. It was never actually dealt with or answered with really.
yeah,
touched on,
I
but
mean,
never really. There was no
yeah, he's-
overarching. What did we learn from this kind of thing? It was more just we gave it to Anna Faris and she's taken a bunch of drugs.
yeah, and her fucking her acting in that is
Oh my
really
god.
something
Anna
else.
Faris drunk acting is
Yeah.
a masterclass in how to act. I'm not gonna lie.
Her at the restaurant yelling nurse,
Yeah.
and then the reveal of him, like he takes his pills out because he needs them, and she's like, you're holding out on me, and she just downs the pills, downs the shots. It's a little date rapey, sure.
Cut,
but,
well, exactly.
Yeah.
Cut to him having sex with an unconscious Anna Faris with vomit on the pillow.
Ugh.
And I'm like, how are they going to pull this off? And so he stops, and she goes, "What are you stopping for, pussy?" And
She's
oh,
like,
okay.
why'd you stop, motherfucker?
Yeah.
Great.
I was like, I guess
Yeah.
I'm okay now. Like, was that consent? It was, it's just, like I said,
It's absurd.
it is. It's got a great cast of people that are, clearly, I think, having fun. They've got, their location, they've got it fully locked down. So it's very, very much, it was an abandoned wall, which they used to great effect. So it felt very, very, very real, in that kind of regard. I just spent the whole time going, what are they trying to do? Like,
Yeah. I mean, mentally he's, he wants to be this, or he sees himself as this larger than life, like important role in this mall. He sees himself as like, like he wants to be a cop so bad that when he has to interact with Ray Liotta, an actual police detective, they immediately butt heads, and it becomes this fucking crazy rivalry.
Yeah.
That's so good. Ray Liotta is so fantastic in
He's
this
awesome.
movie. Like, I appreciate like his in the beginning their dynamic, his patience with Ronnie. Like he's like his patience with him is all I can say, and then it just explodes into this insane fight scene. But it's mutual respect.
well, I mean,
Yeah.
it's like I said, it's a dark part of the movie. Is like kind
Yeah.
of like I was suggesting at the beginning, is that Seth Rogen is a hop, skip, and a jump away from being a mall shooter. He's obsessed with wanting to be a cop, and part of it is like because he loves guns, he loves shooting guns.
Yeah.
He wants to shoot someone, and then where does the movie end with him? Just like I was shocked that the flasher who's been through the whole movie, and then we have this hilarious scene at the end where he's at this point no longer mall security. And the flasher comes in and he's running around in slow motion with his tackle out, and it's just very funny and very silly. And then the jarring hardcore left turn of he shoots him in the fucking chest, and everyone
Yeah.
goes, "Good job."
He goes, Ronnie, hands him back his badge and his thing. I was like, Jesus
takes him to the
All
police
right.
station. No one arrests him for shooting this motherfucker. And the movie just ends with him being, and I'm like, what did I just watch? I don't understand.
And it just smash cut to credits. Great.
Yeah, that part was shocking, but that part was really funny. But it left me being like, I had like two takeaways, which is either this is something that, and I don't think this is the case, but it has the feeling of like the studio's like, your ending is too dark, so we need something like him being like, oh, you get your job back or something. Like felt kind of studio mandatey, like we can't end it with him murdering a guy. But my other takeaway was, I'm like, is this real or not? Like there was a lot of times in this movie where I was like, is this in his head or is this like really happening?
I asked the same thing because he stops taking the pills halfway through the movie.
Yeah.
And so my thing was,
that'd be
is
cool.
the second half of the movie his delusion?
His delusions, yeah.
Oh, Will, thank you so much for someone else saying it. Because I'm like, I was having the same thing going, am I supposed to infer that maybe this is all just his imagination? Like him, the being the heroics, the violence, the dating the girl, all of this, everything from that point on does take on a bit of a strange edge. And I'm like, you know, him taking on 10 police officers, you know.
And, yeah, it's true. Right. I didn't even think of that. I mean, that's a really interesting take. I'd never thought of that.
And the fact he's still a guy at the end of it, he's still working at the mall. Can we assume that those 40 minutes never happened? It was just a delusion.
I mean, imagine the cut to him just in an asylum, just
yeah,
next to Sam Neill.
Yeah. It's all prepping us for Observe and Report 2, Folie à Deux, where Lady Gaga is going to be another mall cop with him, and it's a musical.
In the mouth of Observe and Report, Folie à Deux.
Ooh, there we go.
Let's do it.
I mean, you get him together with Paul Blart, and then Paul Blart 2.
Two different Paul Blarts, yeah. The Paul Blart multiverse.
Blarting around.
I will say the comparisons to Paul Blart, I mean, other than surface level, are completely unwarranted. Because I remember there was a night where, I remember there was a night where my friend Kristen, who was a guest on an episode, us and another friend watched both Paul Blart movies back to back because we wanted to see if we could get through them.
We just wanted to torture ourselves. We'd given up on life.
Yeah, and the only
first one to ejaculate loses.
Well, no, but the only positive I'll say for the two Paul Blart movies is no fart joke in either movie. I thought that shows incredible restraint for a Kevin Smith movie produced by Adam Sandler. Not one fart joke.
Kevin James.
What did I say?
Kevin Smith.
Kevin Smith. The same. You could swap them out. Same guy. Yeah. So kudos to Paul Blart for no fart jokes.
I've never seen those movies, and I'm honestly shocked they only made 2 of them. Like, I for sure thought there were like the Blartiverse.
There's probably a cartoon show that they made.
I saw the first one. I don't remember it, but I also just remembered that Kevin James sometimes has just got an sort of like an easy sort of just charm with his, you know, he's just the funny big guy. He's got a Chris Farley-esque sort of like quality to him at times, with especially when it comes to his physical comedy. So he's pretty good at the sort of sliding and the jumping and the falling over.
I've only seen the movie he did with Adam Sandler, I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry, which I remember enjoying, like where they have to pose as a gay couple for reasons.
Famously non-problematic, movie. It aged fantastically.
It does have the only thing I retain from that movie is there's a zoom into a newspaper and the headline says "Gay Basher bashed at Gay Bash." I thought that was like, that's all I retain from that, because he punches someone in the face. That was it. Great headline. It's a fucking great headline.
So
anyway,
this is an interesting and strange fact, but Observe and Report does actually hold a record, which is that it is the highest frequency of words in any English language film ever. So the film has 34,262 words in it, and an 86-minute long. That's an average of 398 words a minute.
All the words, great.
Yeah,
put that on the. I think that was on the poster.
More
words than most movies.
It's wow. Okay.
Yeah, which it doesn't seem like it is, but I guess that's that whole riffing part. You know, it's just like, oh, guys. There wasn't anything in
Yeah.
the script. Someone has to some poor person had to transcribe that. Though I say that,
Yeah.
my movie show I used to do, EPOUD on Max, was a completely improvised show, and it had to be translated into something like 12 different languages
Oh,
for
shit.
subtitles because it aired all over Asia. And I realized that some poor person's job at HBO, their literal job, was to transcribe mine and my buddy's complete nonsensical fucking
And that was every week. You do
every
that?
week,
Oh
4
man.
episodes a month, and they had to translate it into, there's Thai and Malay and
They absolutely phoned it in a couple weeks where just like they're rambling about something.
Yeah.
It's just the only
yeah,
subtitle.
It
just
would-
parentheses white people ranting.
You could have done that thing where it's translated into a different language, then translated back to English, and you have to act that out, and it would just
that was
been
pretty much
fucking
just
nonsense.
EPOUD anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Observer Report was. It's weird. I wouldn't. It's as a movie. It's one that I wouldn't recommend. I'd be like, I'd talk about it, going. I mean, yeah. I mean, if someone had seen it, I'd talk about it. It's not. I came away from it. I'd like saying talking to Mrs. and I go, I can't believe it. But of the 3 movies I watched this week, only one of them was weird. One of them like, yeah, okay. And then one of them, which is supposedly the worst of them all, is the one I will watch easily 1,000 times more.
I mean, they're admittedly very different movies that take place inside of a shopping mall, so that's understandable for sure.
Yeah.
but,
Well, we did our mission, but like, I wasn't sure about it. So like, there was a really great cameo by Danny McBride. I'm not gonna lie, and I liked that scene as well. That when
So good.
the sudden turn of him, just like, oh, okay. But again, is that his imagination? But yeah, Danny McBride as the Caucasian crackhead, and that is his character.
In full head to toe denim, mind you.
Yes.
The wardrobe in this.
And his accent as well was just so funny.
Get home. What's his fucking name?
It was the kid's name, exactly. It's like, that's my son. Like he's selling crack. That's what he does. It was like Tyrone or something like that. But it was just like that was funny. It was funny. Radiohead was great.
Yeah, I love that.
Michael Pena was just like, I love Michael Pena because he is something of a.
He's making a choice. Yeah, the voice he's doing is so good.
With his like Jerry curls and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just having a good time.
I'm gonna put you in my pocket. I love it. I love this. Like his lines are great. Anna Faris too is fantastic. It's great.
Jesse Plemons is underutilized in this.
Yeah, I mean, he was.
Yeah.
What was he doing back then? Anyway, it was not Varsity Blues. Is the other one? I don't know.
Blue Mountain something or other.
No, not Blue Mountain State. No.
Breaking Bad.
Friday Night Lights. I think he was on.
Was
show.
he?
Right.
Was he in the
yeah.
TV show?
I think so.
I never did watch. The thing is, like Jesse Plemons, yeah, you can see him. He's young.
Yeah.
He's a little. But the thing is, the guy is just so good.
Yeah.
That he's underutilized. They're like, no, dude.
He went from Observe and Report to Game Night to the Scorsese movie. That's the lineage. Yeah.
Well, much like Patton Oswalt as well. Like he rocks up a couple of times. He's also kind of underutilized in this movie.
His job is just be a dick. Like
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so
And
Aziz
great.
Ansari's job is be a dick as well.
Yeah. He's great. But yeah, I do recommend this movie if you like that type of very dark. I would say very dark, but the comedy that's skew on the darker side.
Yeah, but like even the writer director sort of compares, Seth Rogen's character to Travis Bickle from Taxi Driver. You know? And I can see that.
Sure.
It's like described here as a megalomaniacal, manic depressive security guard, and I'm like, yeah,
We've all been there.
It's just, I guess, if you've got Paul Blart is the sort of like the family comedy, then this one is like the sort of like the more darker adult approach. But I guess my whole thing is like, who is this even marketed to? It's just Ryan, right? It's just
Ryan
for Ryan's son, and that's it.
You didn't see the dedicated to at the very end of the movie?
I think I would, even though it wasn't my favorite thing. I think I would recommend it because I do think a lot of people would like this. I think also just kind of where we are in 2024, this type of person that Seth Rogen plays is a little bit scarier and not so funny these days. So I think there was a lot of that in it too, where I'm like, ooh, this
That's true. Yeah,
this came out at kind of like the wrong time culturally, just because Paul Blart was out. and I don't know how well it's aged since. So it's kind of unfortunate because I
That's
think
true.
all the pieces are there for this movie to be like a real classic.
Yeah, his
And I just think it's
character,
also I think it's so close.
his character would have been at January 6th, you know?
Yes.
For sure. Oh,
Yeah.
for sure. Like, you just know like this guy didn't quite peak in high school, but had to couldn't make it to become a police officer, had to become a mall security guard, let that
Mhm.
really go to his fucking head. And then like, cause he has that dialogue scene too, where he's like, yeah, I'm going to petition for us to get our guns back. Like there was at one point they had guns in this mall, like,
Right.
and his boss just is just like, come on, man. Like
Yeah.
the running gag of like the dick Polaroid that the two twins found, but they're also suspects, but he's like dick color question mark. Like,
Yeah.
like, there's like a lot of funny bits in this movie, but I agree with you. It's maybe not like the boldest comedy choices, but this was like such a stoner when I was smoking. Like this is such a stoner, rent this on Netflix DVD and watch with a group of friends.
Mhm.
I would have said
Yeah.
Paul Blart for more than that. But yeah, I mean, the thing that makes the movie work for me is kind of what Will was bringing up, is that if I imagine that the second half of the movie is actually his paranoid delusion, it works.
It's awesome. Yeah.
It works
Mhm.
better as a movie. I haven't seen anyone talking about that though. I think maybe just Will and I, you know.
Shout out to the prop department for making the gun-shaped cake. I thought that was really
Yes.
fucking cool.
That was really funny.
We got to talk about the last thing, and we can move on. Like talking about his mother in this movie is
Yeah.
her line readings, her dialogue is insane. And he's like, "Do you think Dad left because of me?" And she goes, "Definitely."
Yeah.
Like just really, but like the relationship they have together, she's like a super fucked up dark character too, because she's a raging alcoholic. Like she's
Mhm.
constantly passing out. He has to clean up after her.
Yeah.
And then they have this breakthrough moment where she's like, I'm switching to beer. I can
Yeah.
pound those all day. And
Yeah.
it's
So
so
he-
dark.
When I
Growth,
soiled
you
myself and you know, I assumed you were going to take care of me. And I'm like, that's what
Yeah.
I mean. Is like,
It's dark, man. Like
we're
Yeah.
having mental health conversations and
When-
drug addicts and like alcoholics, and it's all
When
at the
he-
same time never addressed really.
when he's getting ready for his date, which is a scene unto itself, and she's like, "Oh, Ronnie, you look so handsome." She's like, "When I first saw your dad, I knew right then and there I was gonna fuck him." Okay,
God. Yeah.
like
She-
their relationship is weird, like
Yeah.
weird,
Very
Oh, but
weird.
man.
But-
That was it. I love her so much. She's so good in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. You know, like I said, you're seeing people. It's kind of they're describing it as sad and a bit grotesque, you know, rather than hilarious. It's a bit. It's you don't fully relax watching it. You're kind of just like.
It's not a feel good comedy, at
No,
all.
no.
Like, but that's kind of what I like about it. That to me was at that time like refreshing to see this type of movie being made. This is the same
Mhm.
thing kind of with the Foot Fist Way. Like it's a pretty dark movie in tone. Like,
Yeah.
sure, it's a comedy, but you're dealing with very real people in realistic ways, like mentally. And I
Mhm.
appreciate that. You know, it's not this foofy, like fully improv, balls to the wall, like slapstick comedy.
Yeah. These characters, you know, in these movies, you've met people like them before. I think that's kind of these aren't like totally made up like comedy movie characters. It's like we've all kind of know like the guy who runs a
A kiosk.
a
Yeah.
McDojo in
Oh, yeah.
like a shopping mall. You know, we've met a security guard who takes his job way too seriously. So
Definitely.
we've all met people like these characters, and I think that does work. I would rather see this than a movie like Paul Blart get made for sure. I do think this is better.
Well, it swung for the fences. I'll give him
Mhm.
that. But another thing. So let's talk about. We're going to change channels a little bit. So yeah. So you know what? Observe and Report. It might be for you. It might not be. It definitely talks about a mall. It definitely is set at a mall. It's very mall-y. But in times, like I said, two of us speculated that maybe half the movie was a hallucination. Read into that what you will.
I'm into that. I like that theory.
But I tell you what, so then when we were looking at the movies that we were going to do, because I know initially I think you guys said we're going, oh, Mallrats, right? Because I've never seen that.
Yeah,
And
for
even,
sure.
even my missus was like, you're not doing Mallrats?
I thought you were for sure going to pick that.
Yeah.
Right, but no, I went a completely different way. And I'm happy I did. I stuck to my guns. And you know what? It is a very mall-centric movie.
Will and I both had like the same response to huh.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very
I think
much,
we even asked
"Oh,
multiple times, like this version, right?
Yeah,
That's
like right.
just to check,
Yeah.
just to double check.
The-
You want me to do the 2004
Or,
Zack Snyder
yeah.
movie? Because I'm putting it on, Ollie. Are you sure? Because I'm gonna
And-
press play. You
and
can
I
pick.
had I had just also purchased the Dawn of the Dead Blu-ray, the original movie, which is hard to find, and I
Mm.
just found it at like a
At a
used
mall?
record store at a mall. But at a used record store, and I'm like, oh, this is a hard Blu-ray to get. I'm so excited I found it. And then you being like, yeah, the 2004. I'm like, but I just bought. But okay.
But yeah, I will. I mean, credit to you. I again, I probably hadn't seen this movie since 2004, and it's crazy to think this
Same.
came out. This and Shaun of the Dead came out in the same year. Like we were so
Yeah.
obsessed with zombies.
Oh
It's like
my
28
God.
days later, like all of it, all came out in a very like small window of zombie.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, vividly remember like the opening of this movie being a fucking banger, and then the rest of it just being fine. Like, you know, I remember the opening of the movie and the zombie baby, and that's
Yeah, well,
pretty
see,
much it.
the one thing that I did forget, and I think, but it's the fact that it's written by James Gunn.
Yeah.
Now, James Gunn is
Yeah.
very much on fire, you know, especially nowadays. But no, I mean, I know what you mean, because it's got a great opening. Like any sort of good sort of zombie movie has a good opening, you know.
Yeah. They
Mhm.
drip feed the
20
hospital scene, like even before like the shit goes down, they like, oh, someone's bitten, and you get like the news things. Like again, Shaun of the Dead
Yeah.
does that leaps and
better
bounds
than
better, but
any movie ever.
but still it's
Yeah.
interesting to see on a rewatch, like, oh yeah, like the little ticks, like you know it's gonna boil over and become a fucking shit show, and sure enough,
And it
does.
boils over very quick. And that's something that
Yeah.
I liked about Chopping Mall and I liked about Dawn of the Dead. They are two movies that waste no time. They
Yes.
are,
Yeah.
you know, like we get Dawn of the Dead, we're introduced to a character, she's in the hospital, but like you're saying, there's little bits, like you see someone go by and they look like they've been kind of bitten. We're talking about some patient that's kind of vanished or had a strange
Yeah.
reaction that's kind of going on. And then we drive home, Milwaukee, she goes to sleep, she wakes up, it's a shit show. There's a little child trying to murder them. Now her boyfriend or husband's trying to murder her. Now she's in a
Yep.
car, explosions and everything, credits. And I'm like, all right, no, I'm on board. Like, I like it.
Yeah.
I didn't see Dawn of the Dead for a long time. I only saw it for the first time, I think, about in the last 10 years. And
Yeah.
like, but I remember it coming out. I remember the clip, which was the bit in the trailer where the car's just driving
Mm.
and then that van comes by and it just is a big
Great shot.
explosion. And I'm like, okay. And another thing as well, considering it's Zack Snyder, there's almost no stylization. There's only a couple of moments of slow mo.
I was gonna say, you hear like Zack Snyder and you kind of like groan a little bit, but there really isn't that signature. There's like maybe 2 slow motion shots towards the end. I'm
Maybe
like,
2,
oh
yeah.
right. But like does not have this, really does not feel like a Zack Snyder movie. Kind of looks like it, but doesn't feel like it.
But I think that works to its advantage. I
Sure.
think it's what I like is it feels a bit sort of a bit grittier. I mean, it's it's not like low budget. It's $26 million, but at the same time, if you're making an action movie, if you're making a, you know, with that many sort of like extras and explosions and guns and stuff and special effects, that money gets eaten up pretty quick. So locking it in one location and shooting it the way they did, it works for me. And it's like, I find it at times funny, at times unpredictable. I think one of my favorite little scenes in it is the bit where they're shoot Jay Leno, like, you know, like Burt Reynolds and stuff like that, Rosie O'Donnell, all that kind of shit. And I'm like, that's weird, dark, and funny all at the same time.
Sure.
But it's hitting what it's trying to do in the same way that I say that Observe and Report was missing more than it was hitting. Like Dawn of the Dead is swinging for its random fences, but I felt like every time it did swing, I go, oh, cool, zombie baby. Oh, cool. You know, like that's kind of a fucked up thing just happened. It's like, oh, I like it. I enjoy this movie for what it is.
How long are they in this mall for? Do we know?
Yeah, and long enough to run out of the guy across the way to run out of food. So I guess it's maybe a couple of weeks.
Right. But long enough for her to like start a new relationship with someone else in this mall, even though her husband, fiance, boyfriend was brutally killed several days ago.
Yeah. I mean, this enough for that girl to forget about her dead dad and fall in love with the young boy. Enough time for Mekhi Phifer's missus to get, you know, give birth.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, is it a couple of weeks? Is it like a month? It's unclear. you know.
Yeah. I will say for this movie, one of the things I do appreciate is it does have a little bit more fun with the concept than the original movie did.
Hmm.
You know, the original movie also, if you see that movie also wastes no time. From second one, it's like, okay, so zombies have basically taken over everything and society's falling apart. Like, it's just instantly hitting the ground running. This I do appreciate it. It sets up a little bit, it still wastes no time, but it sets it up a little bit more. And it does have fun things. Like there's a lot of things in the mall montage sequence that are
Yeah.
a lot of fun. So it has moments like that. And of the early 2000s horror remake fad that was kind of going on at the time,
Mhm.
it's definitely towards the top of the list. But yeah, there I don't know. This kind of it also doesn't have a lot of the things that I think draw people to zombie movies. Like it doesn't have like too many super cool like zombie effects or anything. It's kind of like World War Z. The zombies are kind of there for like
Yeah.
action set pieces to happen,
Right.
but it's not that for
As
me,
with-
I'm like it's not that cool or not
As
that
with
exciting.
every fucking zombie thing, it's never about the zombies. It's about how horrible we are as a species. Like that's pretty much
Yeah.
the core of it. Like you have the very conservative security guards that have all the guns, and then you know it's like you have like all of these character types are there. They're just to me not very interesting. You know, like
Yeah, I mean,
Ving
I get,
Rhames is cool because
yeah.
he's
Yeah.
fucking Ving Rhames, but
Well, I get what Will's saying is in as much as like it's a very competently made movie. It's a competently made movie in the genre, but
Mhm.
it's not doing anything new or special. You know, in the
Yeah.
same way that 28 Days Later was a disruptor because it said, no, no, what if zombies were fucking rage filled and coming at you as opposed to just these sort of the
right.
that you can outrun and you can outsmart pretty quick.
Mhm.
You know, and then you get, like you said, you mentioned it earlier, made the same year, but Shaun of the Dead is, well, what if it was a comedy? You know,
Mhm.
what if it's a romantic, you know, a
Didn't
rom-com zombie?
28
Yeah.
Days Later came out before this? Was that 2001?
I
I
want
think
to say it came out before this, yeah.
Yeah. So that was
Yeah.
like that was the first iteration where you're like, oh shit, fast zombies, we're fucked, right?
Yeah, so it was
Like,
2002
okay.
was 28 Days Later. And then they like, you know, and I know they were making Shaun of the Dead and they actually got worried as like, oh man, like we've made it like the old sort of zombies. Is that going to be a mistake? But no, it wasn't.
But no, they
No.
ended up making the best zombie
No.
movie ever made. So
Right.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean that's what I kind of mean is like kind of like Will's saying is you're not wrong as in you're not going to see anything new in this, much like with World War Z or anything like that. At least World War Z kind of went bigger. Is what they were kind of doing is like we'd seen it to a level we hadn't, but still
Doesn't make it a better movie though.
exactly,
Like,
exactly.
yeah.
Just because it's
Doesn't-
bigger, and honestly, I would say the best part of World War Z is the reshot final act, where instead of it being some massive war, it gets pulled all the way down to a small building in Wales, where he's got to get in and get out without the zombies hearing him. Becomes a much more tense.
The
yeah,
stakes are so
it's much
higher,
more
yeah.
clever than the original proposed ending.
Right.
Yeah.
Still an utterly forgettable film.
Yeah.
I think in like the pantheon of like zombie movies, like this is definitely up there. I mean, even Zack Snyder, what was the Army of the Dead? Like basically the
Oh,
same
yeah.
thing, but instead of a mall, it's a fucking casino. Like,
It was
okay,
it was Vegas and shit.
sure, like, but
Everything was out of focus.
yeah, that was very much a pandemic film, right? That
Yeah.
Well, it was also because they had to cut that
Cut
guy,
out.
Chris.
Yeah,
what's his
Chris
name?
D'Elia, yeah.
D'Elia,
Yeah.
out of the movie.
they
and replaced him.
deleted him.
I honestly have to rewatch the movie because I watched it once, and the only thing I'm watching while watching that movie
Oh,
is
it's Take
how
My
they've
Time.
replaced him.
I remember hearing about it, didn't even clock it, but yeah, but I don't think that's a good enough reason to rewatch. But I don't know.
That whole movie felt like it was shot on a Canon 5D with a prime lens, and it's like it had a focal length of like a millimeter, so only someone's like nose
Yeah.
was in focus, but everything else was out of focus. And I go, that's a choice, but to make the whole movie like that was too much. I can't see anything. Nothing's happening in this movie.
Yeah, you know, this is an interesting one to revisit, especially for spooky season if you get the chance. But it's certainly not one of my favorite zombie movies, but I think it is a very competently made film that did a lot of like things that are now maybe tropey, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
but or better or worse. I don't know.
There was some. I mean, like I said, I like I like the James Gunn of it. I think is what kind of like the moments of when things are happening, I'm kind of enjoying it. When things get a bit bonkers, it gets a bit bonkers, and then there's little
Yeah,
bits of surprise where like very good use of amputees as zombies.
that's
Like
cool. Yeah.
the guy that was a really surprising part. But the guy with no legs who's zombie.
Oh, in the parking lot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
in the
that was
parking
cool.
garage, and he's like, he's coming along like he's using monkey bars, and I was like, that was pretty fucking cool.
Yeah.
Like that caught me off guard. In kind of
Yeah,
much the same way that the security guards, like, what's the guy from House of Cards who's in this movie?
yeah.
He's the lead security guy that then becomes
He's great. So good in this
Yeah.
movie, and basically everything he's done. He's in the
Michael
Penguin
Kelly.
now, right?
He's
That's it,
fantastic
Michael
in
Kelly, yeah.
everything. But yeah, I
Okay.
liked, because when he turns up, he's such a prototypical, oh, he's going to be the bad guy. And then by the end of it, you're like, nah, man, he's cool. Like...
He's just racist enough. Yeah, they turn him into like a martyr, but by the
Yeah.
end. And I will say the one thing I fucking hated about this movie is the end credits. Like
Yeah.
very seizure inducing. I was cool at the time, like, because it's all shot from the perspective of like, oh, I found the camera the guy was shooting pornos on his
Mhm.
boat. Okay. And they just cut to like it all goes, you're like, oh no, you're expecting a very happy ending for this because they made it to the boat and it's the whole thing, but no, they get to the island and it's also infected. Great.
Yeah, I know.
Fuck-
It's kind of the
fuck
thing
all
is,
these people.
Will, as someone who seems to be much more of an expert on like the original Romero's and stuff like that. The original one, I'm assuming, doesn't have a happy ending either.
No, no. Basically, every entry in like Romero's zombie trilogy, it's just society's gotten worse and worse. It's like a couple people survive the mall, but they fly off, and you basically see like, nah, everything is
Right.
pretty messed up. And then you get to Day of the Dead, where it's inferred the society is just a couple people living in like underground shelters and stuff. Like it's gotten really bad. But the kind of the reason why zombie movies kind of really take off and why it's got a fan base is because you want to eventually see some cool zombie kills. Like that's kind of what you're paying admission for. And this movie just really doesn't have that. Dawn of the Dead is famous for being super gory and, Tom Savini special effects, which are just insane.
He's in this movie too, which is great.
He is.
Like,
I did like
Yes.
that. I did
That
like
was a good
and
cameo.
yeah.
Yeah.
He plays the exact same character in Terrifier 3.
Does he really?
No
Yes.
way.
That's
Not
funny.
the exact not the exact same character. I mean, he's
But
but he's
same
another-
thing.
he's
The
another
news
sheriff.
team is interviewing him, talking about things that are happening in the film. It's great.
That's awesome. Tom Savini is just he's
treasure.
just great.
A literal
but,
sex machine.
sex machine. Everyone's
There's your
gonna
Halloween
watch this
costume. There's your
sometime.
Halloween costume.
Yeah, I gotta find that piece. But yeah, so I don't want to compare it too much to the original, but I mean it's unavoidable. It's literally a remake of the original.
Yeah.
And this is very much, I would recommend this movie for people who like they just don't watch horror movies. They're not familiar with them at all. This is a good like dip your toe in. If this is too intense for you, yeah, you're not, Suspiria's out. So don't even worry about it.
Yeah, no,
I almost
actually,
watched that last night.
That's a fair comment, Will. Actually, is like it's very much all right.
Baby's first zombie movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
I
yeah.
mean, because like I remembered the zombie baby, but
Mhm.
the zombie baby hardly even featured. And
No.
I couldn't remember if I'm like
You're
Mandela-
thinking of Dead Alive.
Well, that's the thing, because
Yes.
I remembered it getting crazy and this zombie baby kind of bouncing around and like them trying to shoot it, and I
That's
go,
Dead Alive.
oh
Yeah.
no, it's just we see in a moment, then you just hear a gunshot
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Right.
So I'm like, even I was kind of misremembering that scene. I was kind of looking forward to it, but it was quite, like I said,
Yeah.
like Will's saying, it's a little bit watered down, just a little bit. There's still some gore and
Yeah,
heads
it's-
exploding and blood. People are getting cut by chainsaws. I think is maybe the worst
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah, it's actually kind of restrained in its gore for
It's
a
very
Zack
by the
Snyder
numbers.
movie,
Yeah,
you know?
true. I do remember it being, but again, from 2004, it was probably pretty full on for using a lot of practical effects and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's strange because James Gunn too, like he did Slither, so it's like at the time it made sense to like put those two on a zombie movie, and then when you see the result, it's like, wow, this is like a way more mainstream approach than I would expect from
almost
Certainly
too,
James Gunn, but
Yeah.
from Zack Snyder at that point.
almost
too.
too studio, you could say. Like,
Yeah.
pretty like we gotta just restraint, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is weird to say for a movie where
Yeah.
they're, like, you know, naming celebrities and then shooting the zombies that look like them and stuff. Like, but still, you're not wrong, because we can pick a bunch of movies that go, no, we're going all the way, we're going full tilt, all the way up to Ryan being obsessed with the Terrifier movies, which are like, for Will and I, it's a step too far. You know, the Terrifier
Yeah.
movies are, that is my line, and we have crossed it. And like, Ryan is president of the other side of the line. He's like,
They're so fun.
come over
They're
here,
so
it's
fun.
so warm. Come on
They're
over.
fun,
Like,
man.
"Yeah,
You guys
good."
go. It's like the third one, I was like laughing hysterically the entire time, as were most people in the theater. Just a fucking theater full of sickos. It was great. Finally, I'm among my people.
I think for me, there's just a level of cruelty in Terrifier
Yeah. Oh
movies
yeah.
that I just it's not for me. But I do get, because that the performer, the guy who does Art the Clown, no doubt that guy is really funny and really talented. And I like seeing Art like live in person at events,
Yeah.
you know, scaring people and stuff like that. He definitely brings me a lot of joy.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
you have to think in the past few years, they just manifested this like now horror, like a new horror icon that's up there in the pantheon with like a Jason and
Yeah.
Freddy and Michael Myers. Like that's not an easy thing to do.
yeah, and especially a horror movie clown, something that is well worn territory at
Yeah.
this point.
Yeah.
You know,
Here we are talking about it.
yeah.
I mean, you're not wrong, because like I said, you know, the fact that it's getting, you know, great reviews, and the fact that Art the Clown is turning up in viral videos and is collaborating, and I'm like, oh my god, it's gone mainstream. This was the kind, you know, I can't believe we're talking about Terrifier instead of Dawn of the Dead, but you know,
I've done it.
But like, it's the fact is that, you know, go back to the 80s, this was one of those tapes you'd rent, and then you'd see it, and then you'd get your friends together and go, guys, we got to see this. And you know, it's like Maniac Cop and Maniac Cop 2, and that whole sort of like the B movie genre of straight to VHS horror movies that you'd get, watch, enjoy, and go, man, that was crazy.
There's a reason they re-released the sequel, the second one, on VHS, like that you can purchase and watch if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Does
Did it need to
have
be 2 hours and
fake
20 minutes?
trailers?
Probably not. Oh,
No, that's the thing. That's the thing. Like, okay, look, we did Terrifier 1, and it was at times funny and at times just shocking, but at least it was only like 90 minutes. Because I was like, 2 hours, 20 minutes of this?
It's a lot.
No,
It's a
I
lot.
can't do that. I can't. I'd
Yeah.
have to break it
No.
up over days, and that means I need more therapy. You know.
And this is the last thing I'll say on the third one, it's very restrained. I think it's just over 2 hours, but it feels like there was a lot cut out of it. Like that. I hope there's a director's cut that's
I
2.5
really don't.
hours long. It's
I
crazy.
really-
6
really
hour
anyway.
director's cut.
don't.
But back to Dawn of the Dead, you know, it's so funny. Like at that time, remaking all of these horror movies, like that'll never catch on. They won't keep doing that forever until we die. Were there other like Romero? I feel like there was another sequel after this that not like Zack Snyder did, but did they do Day of the Dead after? Like, isn't there one where they're on a fucking island or something? Or am I thinking of
You're thinking of the video game.
the House of the Dead where
Oh God.
Uwe Boll made that one? Oof.
Yeah, there's that one. There are Day of the Dead is really confused. The rights are all very confusing. Even though it's a trilogy, they're each kind of their own separate thing. So there is like 4 Day of the Dead movies that are only sequels and remakes to that and have nothing to do with Dawn or Night.
Okay.
It's too much. Night of the Living Dead has its own remake that Tom Savini did. It's all completely you can't track it. It's
I'm
impossible.
remembering like there is a version or something that I'm having this Mandela effect where it's like a zombie slowly walking under the water.
That might be
forget which-
Land of the Dead.
That's it. Thank
Yeah.
you. God, that's been like bothering me. Now I know not to
Yeah.
watch that one.
Yeah, not that great.
But like, yeah, there's so many like something of the Deads that it's hard to keep up. But Sean is the only one I care
I was
about.
about to say, Sean's the only
Yep.
one you should really be concerned with. But like, you know, again, so this movie, it is what it is. Does exactly what it says on the tin. I enjoyed it. It talks about them all. But you know what, guys? Fuck it. Let's talk about
Hell yeah.
Because let's be honest, there is only one star this week, and that star is Chopping Mall. This is a movie I've been talking about all week. It's a movie I want to talk about for the rest of my life. It's a movie I definitely want to rewatch. Will, where did Chopping Mall come from? How do you know about Chopping Mall? Like, Ryan, had you heard or seen of Chopping Mall?
I'd heard of it. I had never seen it, but because I think maybe I'd listened to the How Did This Get Made episode on it.
Oh, they did a How Does It Get Made of it?
I think Patton Oswalt is on that one too. I
Ooh.
can't remember. I maybe, but if you're on film Twitter and you see, or you're on horror Twitter like I am, and you see and you're and you subscribe to animated gifs of heads exploding, then this is your movie.
This
Yeah.
is top 2 movie head explosion.
Yeah, this and Ricky O, right?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Oh man, we need to do a triple feature: Ricky O, this, and Scanners, just to
Ooh.
get all the best head explosion movies.
See, I've never seen Scanners, but correct me if I'm wrong. That head explosion, they actually just used a shotgun.
With salt.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Yeah,
It's
famously.
awesome. It rules. This movie, yeah, I think one of my favorite YouTube channels might have covered it briefly, which piqued my interest. And then it went out, and again, Chris and I watched this movie, and just instantly fell in love with like this insane zany movie. I never got over the fact that it's called Chopping Mall and it's not a slasher movie.
Yeah.
Like
not,
it's just
not only that, the poster doesn't make any sense either. 'Cause
No.
It says Chopping Mall, but it's got an alien/robot hand with a long nail holding a shopping bag, which has a head inside it, which in
Right.
no way relates to what this movie.
Fucking cool though, huh?
yeah.
Yeah, no, it looks
I
great.
love the poster. This is definitely like they came up with the poster before
Yeah.
they like had anything for the movie.
Yeah. God,
And this is a Jim Wynorski classic. I'll just say it. Who went on to direct one of my other favorite So Bad It's Good movies, which is Deathstalker 2, which unfortunately is not Deathstalker TOO, but starring the big chin guy in this movie, the guy who
oh yeah, the guy that's chewing an insane amount of gum
Yes.
constantly.
The
and he
guy
plays
who's got very
a super
punchable face.
fun zany barbarian. He plays John
could see it.
Deathstalker in Deathstalker 2, and it's great.
He reminds me, like, I would love to see a remake of this movie starring like the 3 guys from Workaholics. Like,
Oh
just,
my God.
like just make this movie, but as a straight up like horror comedy. Like I think the premise of it is so wild, and the robots are so weirdly like non-threatening.
So
Like,
adorable.
It's crazy. Like it looks like a kid's toy, like that famous toy Robbie the Robot kind of.
Yes.
They are. I'm gonna say they were pretty good. I liked them. Like they were well-made robots. They moved quickly. Like their
Yeah.
heads-
And-
like I said, it's a hop, skip, and a jump away from Short Circuit. You know what I mean? It
Yeah,
was-
yeah. And
Very
there was
much.
a point in this film where I'm like, they're constantly running away from these 3 robots, which are like relegated to 3 floors. There
Mhm.
are like my only notes were, I wish each of the 3 robots had a distinct personality instead of just being 1, 2, 3.
Mhm.
And then I'm like, well, just fucking use the stairs. Obviously they can't use the stairs, but then it cuts to a shot of them using the escalator. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Yeah, well played.
See?
You got
They
me there.
They outsmarted you. Yeah.
Got me there.
It's God, and everything. And I love that there's like, in this mall, they also have like the scientists who built the robots there, who are
Yeah.
I don't know what their job is other than sit there and read dirty magazines and die.
Yeah, it's
Because they
kinda like
don't
the-
seem to do anything.
It was giving me like very Gremlins 2, like what is going on in
Yes.
this office that there's like a science department?
Yeah, so
crazy.
strange. And one of the scientists is played by Garrett Graham, who of
Yeah.
course is everybody say it with me, Beef from Phantom of the Paradise.
Oh, I was gonna say the
Oh,
guy.
I was expecting you all to say it with
I was
me.
gonna say the guy with the rabbit's foot from Used Cars.
Yes, that too.
Yes. Mhm.
I
that
knew
too.
that
But-
guy.
Yeah, and I just love bringing up that he plays Beef in Phantom of the Paradise.
Well, there was.
I think
also
you brought
another
that up.
cameo.
I did.
You know, use
I
okay.
absolutely brought that up. Before.
There was
Yes.
another great cameo, a Gremlins cameo.
Yes.
Mhm.
Dick Miller,
Fucking
the guy
great.
who's the janitor, who one of the first people to die. Actually,
I thought he was gonna like be the guy to save the
too.
day. I was like, oh
100%.
hell yeah, this movie's over. You're
I was
fucking
like, oh,
Dick Miller's too
cool.
expensive, man. You
He got
have him for
so
10 minutes.
unceremoniously
Yeah.
electrocuted
Like I
Kind
say,
of.
this movie is surprising. It's
Yeah.
unexpected. It takes you in directions you're not
All
thinking.
right. Okay.
Also-
all right.
Also, second movie where we had a dick in a mall in like this week, which is pretty
Oh,
crazy.
yeah. More dicks. We used
Blatant.
to be a society that had dicks in malls.
Yes.
And now
put
we
them
don't
in
even have
boxes.
malls.
No, we don't, and that's why. Maybe that's the biggest problem. But yeah, no, Chopping Mall is it. I just love it for being unapologetically itself.
Yeah.
And I think it's not trying to be a 4-quadrant movie. It's not saying, oh, we need more of this or more of that. We need to have, this to get this quadrant or whatever. No, it's just, guys, all right, look, let's just put
Yeah.
3 murder bots in a mall. I mean, I love the fact as well, this is something we've glossed over and I
plot?
said it's just ridiculous, is that, so if you've not seen this movie right now, you're probably wondering, well, why not just leave the mall? Well, well.
This
for
movie has
example-
no holes in this movie.
not at
Yeah.
all. There are no plot holes because
Zero
they have
flaws.
not only have they put in murder bots to protect the interior of the mall, but they have also bought doors from the Death Star.
Right,
to,
yeah.
just
And
just
Also, but if you're confused,
Clunk.
all of this is explained in the first 5 minutes of this movie
yeah.
via PowerPoint presentation and holograms.
Well, we start. I mean, like you're saying. So, Ryan was talking about it at the very beginning of the show, but the cold open of this movie is a guy robbing the mall that gets chased down by a murder bot that then sort of like tases him or puts him to sleep, and then we realize it's a corporate video / presentation for the launch of these bots
On
And
film.
then for some reason, there's a couple, the Blands. Their only reaction is to roll their eyes. The point of them being a mystery to me.
Yeah,
So-
I wasn't sure if they were financing this or like, are they
Yeah.
pitching this idea to other mall owners? Maybe.
They win a
Yeah.
competition.
Yeah.
I didn't understand that the two characters who are talking, the like husband and wife, this is a really weird thing. They are the main characters of a completely different movie
Yeah.
that came out years earlier called Eating Raoul. I've never seen it, but it's
Wait,
about
really?
Oh,
yeah.
shit.
Oh man,
It-
I just thought you were speculating. This is
No,
for
no.
real.
Oh, okay.
No, they are totally the lead in the,
The
same
Blandiverse?
characters, too. So they're the lead characters of this movie, Eating Raoul, where they own a restaurant that it's kind of a Sweeney Todd thing. They start serving people because they're running out of like ingredients and stuff. I've never seen this movie. Apparently, it's a super low budget dark comedy, and for some reason, those two exact same characters, exact same actors are in this movie.
Same name too. They're playing the
Same.
Blands.
They
Oh,
are
wow.
literally playing the same.
That's cool.
characters.
I'll come
Wow.
into that.
To be
So
honest, Will,
spe-
this sounds like the kind of movie you're going to have on 4K Steelbook and get the pop-up sort of novelization.
The novelization.
Oh, I've got Eating Raoul pre-ordered.
Speaking
on
of
4K.
eating, this movie has maybe one of the most disgusting like
Oh.
restaurant scenes
Ugh.
that
Oh
so
my
when
god.
you pan to the outside, far be it from me, and maybe I misread it. I thought it was like an Asian inspired like a Chinese restaurant, but they're serving like Italian food and pizza. And this fucking piece of shit is like smoking cigarettes,
Yeah.
like scratching himself, it's like just like putrid, and it cuts to like
Wiping his spoon on his
Just
dirty
gross.
shirt.
just gross.
You
Ugh.
know?
and then the
Not like
customer eating. I actually
Yeah.
a lot of times I will just go more butter. Like if I'm sitting
Yeah.
because that's this guy
Gosh.
just sitting there, the disgusting customer too. Just
But
eating
they
his food.
establish like again like the typical horror trope that each one of these teens has their own unique personality. It's like the two girls are friends and she's trying to hook her up with one of the guy's friends who's a total fucking nerd, and
Mhm.
I will get
You
back
had-
to him
like I
later.
said, that you mentioned earlier, the other couple that fix cars, and I go, oh, at some
Yeah.
point they're going to repair something. No.
No,
No,
no.
that's
You know,
I mean, like-
she's got special underwear, and I go, at some point this is going to be more than just, hey, I'm wearing special underwear. No. And I'm like, okay, all right. I guess it's
Yep.
that kind of movie. It's like,
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
Chekhov's. Who gives a shit?
Yeah, I mean, like everyone, like you, because the one guy in the married couple is like almost you would think he was like in the military or like he's trained because he knows how to operate all the insane high caliber firearms they find in this mall. It's wild. Like,
Yeah.
I'm talking like fully automatic M16s, shotguns, like you
My
name it.
favorite part of the movie, actually, because it was the most 80s and most American part
The
of it.
armor,
Is like,
yeah,
all right,
yeah.
guys, there's some murder bots and we're trapped in the mall. All right, let's go to the sporting goods store. You get the machine gun, I'll take the shotgun. We'll get some We got some compressed gas. Yeah, we can blow those up.
Propane, yeah.
Awesome. Let's get some paint. I mean, it's like you could basically,
It's
it's like if
fucking
we were doing a
crazy.
sequel to fucking what's the Cold War movie? The Red Dawn.
A Red Dawn,
Red
yeah.
Dawn.
You know,
So
it's like, guys, you got
they-
the Wolverines could resupply, and there's more.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
They all split up. So you have the guys going to arm up, and you have the girls meticulously
the
placed
vents.
into the vents. But the one girl starts freaking out. She's like, I'm worried he needs me. I'm like, I don't think that he does. Like, he seems pretty well equipped. And she like panics. She's like, I gotta get the hell out of here. And so she does, and it doesn't go great for her. But
No,
this is all after we're glazing over the very first, very important kill of this movie, or excuse me, the second kill. Like, the guy goes out, the attractive couple has they do sex. She's like, I need cigarettes.
Cigarettes. Yep.
So he goes to get, but he remembers, like, you're not supposed to be in this mall after hours, otherwise the robots are gonna get you. But if you have your
ID.
lanyard, your ID, which again clearly established in the opening 5 minutes of this movie,
Yep.
you're fine. It doesn't work. So he gets vaporized. I don't even remember what happens, but
Well, he got. It's. The thing is, I
You don't
kinda
see it.
wanted him to die because his gum chewing was very. It made
So
him so
bad.
punchable that I'm like, dude, seriously, you need to stop.
I
You
mean,
need to stop.
every scene was obnoxious. Like,
He has one of the most punchable faces on the planet, which makes Deathstalker 2 really fun to watch. 'Cause everybody and everything, including stone walls, punches this guy in the
Well,
face.
because he's chewing gum to begin with, then he goes down on his girlfriend and he's chewing gum afterwards, and I'm like, bro, like.
oh, you'd rather have it the other way where he comes up and he's gumless?
Yeah. He's just
And then she
Because
Lost
this
it in
was the
there.
80s. Like, you don't know. I don't know.
you
man.
never know. Yeah.
And she was like, she was so clearly cast in this movie as like the most atypical Playboy Playmate type, just like cast specifically for her breasts,
Mhm.
and great. And she goes to look for her now murdered boyfriend, turns the corner,
And doesn't
her
see his legs.
yeah.
She
Yeah,
walks
it's
all the way up and trips over him. She was very much a screamer. Because, like I said, funny enough, and I was in this movie up until a certain point.
You were in this movie?
Yeah, they
Robot
actually were
3.
making good choices. Like,
Mhm,
I was
yeah.
actually giving them credit for, like,
Locking the doors, like,
yes, considering what it was, and then tooling themselves up, and then like they came up with a good plan, and they're like,
It's
we
all
can
for
isolate
nothing.
one of them.
all for nothing. Like, just for as good as the decisions they made, still very dumb people. Like, I
Well,
don't know.
the thing is, the bodies do start hitting the floor from about sort of 35 minutes in until the end. So this movie is only an hour and 8 minutes long, or
It's
an hour and
yeah.
10 minutes long.
Yeah,
It's like
it's-
it's amazingly short movie. Because like I said, 19 minutes was cut out of it, and thank God. But they just start, they just start dropping like flies at one point. There is, and like Will said, an excellent head
Top tier.
explosion.
Yeah. That her head
The match
explodes.
cut,
It's
like-
great. And
Yeah.
it cuts to, because it happens in front of the rest of all of their friends.
Yeah.
He can't run over and be like, oh my God, are you all right? Like,
But those lasers are interesting because they only explode heads. If the lasers hit you anywhere else, it's kind of just irritating. It shoots her
Right,
in the
yeah.
butt, and she's just kind of like, ah, and
Yeah,
keeps
like,
running.
unclear as to how the lasers work. Some of them wound people.
Yeah.
And
But then you have-
they've definitely got the same aiming sort of ability as stormtroopers in the Star Wars universe, because they
Right. But
all
then,
over the place.
then you
Yeah.
get Barbara Crampton. Shout out to Barbara Crampton. It's a shame you couldn't make it today. But her character, like, I think they take out one of the machines, and they're like, you trying to use propane tanks to like blow it up and set it on fire, but she gets lasered and is crawling away so slowly towards her two friends that do fuck all
Yeah.
to like try
Yeah.
and get her out of there, and then
She's
she
in trouble.
burns to death. Oh my-
Yes. Oh my God.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
horrible.
yeah.
That's a good stunt. That's a good stunt.
Yeah. That's what I was
Like,
thinking too. Like,
very slowly, like, oof. And they
Yeah.
watch it.
Should
They're standing there
Yeah.
watching her, like,
Should we-
oh my
should
God.
we get a
what-
blanket, maybe?
like-
Is it a fire extinguisher? Right? No. She's fucked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
all right. Bye.
fire safety wasn't invented until 1991.
Right.
So, it's just
Roll
You're not wrong.
around. Yeah.
The 80s and stuff, that's a time when we had shell suits that were like, oh, if
And
you
then-
stood next to a flame, it would make your entire family catch
I-
fire. You know what I mean?
yeah.
My question too is, because the guys are, the one nerdy guy is like hacking the elevator for a reason
Right.
I am unclear of.
Well, it's not the
Like,
nerdy. No, it wasn't the
Yeah.
nerdy. I thought it was more like the guy that repairs engines or the. But
no,
anyway,
that guy
yeah,
was
they're
like that guy
hacking.
was gunman.
They're
Yeah.
reprogramming the lift. Yeah, so at least that they can trap one in there
Right.
and then blow it up, and then like, and that was like I said, good
Yeah.
plan. You know?
Good plan. Although it took them 30 minutes to shoot the propane tanks that are 20 feet away. Each of them
Right.
are unloading like 6,000 bullets and cannot hit a propane
Right.
tank. Until our lead character gets like one snub nose revolver,
Yeah.
gets a shot
Yeah.
in, and
Oh, I
I'm
Yes.
like
like,
that. Our
But
final
they-
girl's a good one. Like,
yeah,
Yeah.
they get away to like heal up. They like crawl underneath the metal gate or whatever. They get inside, they heal up. You have this like brief moment of respite. And the robots outside are like, I don't know what to do. Use your fucking lasers to cut a perfectly robot shaped like
Yes.
Kool-Aid hole
Again,
rounding it through.
established in the first
Like
5 minutes.
immediately, like they hide in this store, but they were really like 20 feet away. It's not like a huge, I mean, I guess it's a big department store, but whatever, it doesn't matter. But yeah, they just start dying like unceremonious, like they get lasered, they sacrifice themselves. It's just kind of like, doesn't really matter.
it
Until-
also doesn't help that every guy in this movie is dressed exactly the same.
Yeah,
So
they
I
do.
lose track of all the guys in this film. Like it's
Yeah,
really
it's 3 generic white Bajans.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's like
Well,
you're
one
not
guy,
wrong.
one guy was
guy's
glasses.
got glasses.
One
you know?
guy was glasses. Yes.
There we go.
He's
Yeah.
the
Yes.
nerdy guy.
Mhm.
One guy's chewing gum, and then there's the 2 other
Sure.
guys that looked exactly like the chewing gum guy.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
forgot about the third guy. The one guy with the black hair, because he was like
See?
the one in like in
With the black
control.
Well, see, that's what I mean. That's right. No, because there's chewing gum guy. There's guy
Guys
whose
first.
girlfriend fixes engines better.
His
There's
wife.
a nerdy guy and one other guy who I don't remember. Wasn't there? There's 4
Yeah.
guys, right? Because there's 8 people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's 4 guys. I only remember what 3 of them do.
Yeah.
6
I don't
people
know.
die.
I
There's
only
no
remember
damage.
the final guy because he is knocked unconscious. You think he's dead because you see blood coming out of his head.
Yeah, I was
And
bummed, man.
the final girl solves like all of the problems, and then it cuts back to him like across the mall with like a bandage. And it's like, "Hey, you did it!" Like,
Yeah, he's got a roll of toilet paper.
yeah,
like
that's
covering up
right.
his
Oh
massive
my
head
God.
wound.
Like,
It's
were you
a
just-
roll of toilet paper.
You were just over there watching. I mean, it went on for like a good 25 minutes, like her running away, doing the whole paint thing. Very cool. And then he's just like, "Huh, I'm gonna make that whore my wife."
But they were like, yeah, because but very much so, are the only ones that don't have sex. I was trying to explain it to Mrs. as well. I was
Oh
like,
yeah.
well, it shuts them all down, and then 8 of them have a drinking sex party inside a furniture store
Yeah.
because it's got beds. I think.
Yeah, kind of. But and the beds are like very close to one another. Like they're fucking in very close proximity.
There
Like
was
yeah.
also, by the way, for some reason, a shower and locker room.
yes.
Because we did have
Yes,
the
the
random
girls,
locker
yeah.
room scene where you just have an unidentified headless naked woman walk by in the background.
Yep.
I'm like going, there you go, guys, pubic hair, ticket,
Yeah.
tick the box, guys, we did it. You
Mhm.
know, B movie.
Yeah, that was unclear. Like, yeah, that's
The
a locker room for
post-shower
them to.
conversation
yeah.
between the 2 girls about no, come to the party.
So
tonight."
to be fair, if you worked in that gross fucking cigarette smoking restaurant,
Yeah.
you probably want a shower after that.
Yeah, it might have
Honestly,
been
if I-
mandated by
shift.
the state that they
Yeah.
have a shower there.
If I worked in the furniture store where the teenagers fuck every Friday, I'd probably want a shower as well.
What do you mean if?
I mean, just imagine trying to do that today in a Casper mattress store. Like, just not the same appeal.
Oddly enough, the reason I'm not allowed back in that shopping center.
Man, but this movie, the thing is, I enjoyed it
Fun.
from second one. You know,
Did
even
you
though I'm
you
not,
and Mrs. watch this together?
no, just me, Mrs. No, I'd actually love to show Mrs. this movie, but like,
It's a fun group watch, man. Like
Oh,
it's a
yeah,
really fun for
100%.
sure. Like it's I strongly recommend getting as many people together and watching this terrible movie and throwing shit at the TV. It's great.
I
You know,
saw
honestly-
this at an Alamo Draft House. Like, you know,
Oh,
it was a
hell yeah.
packed theater. Man, that was like a fun crowd to see this with.
That's awesome.
oh, that's a great. I mean, the thing is, it's because it's happened on this show many times before, where very often the worst movie that we've got on, you know, when I use that term, I'm using.
The most
you know,
fun.
Yeah, but it's often the one we had the most fun watching. It's often the
Yeah.
one we want to talk about. It's often the one that we still talk about and recommend to other people. And that's why I love schlocky. Like I said,
Yeah.
movies that are just doing what they want to do. It's just
I will
this is what we're
say-
doing. It's like movies that are the commercials from the trailers from Grindhouse.
Yes. Don't.
You know, them or don't, whatever it is, right? You know, that's there's such
So
a
much
market
passion.
for it. You know, because this movie, it's the only movie I've been thinking about all week.
And strangely enough, I feel like if we had only watched that movie, it wouldn't have had the same impact as having to as also watching the other two films. And
sure.
It's like it made
Yeah.
it that much more fun to enjoy Chopping Mall. You know,
Well, it's what's the biggest criticism I was having with Observe and Report is like, pick what you're doing. I don't know what
not
you
enough
are.
death robots.
You know, but Chopping Mall is from the beginning. This is what we are. We're the Murderbot movie in the mall. Cool.
Yeah,
Sign me up.
I'm into it.
I'm on board. You know.
Yeah.
And it's
So,
back in the day when Jim Wynorski was actually like trying to direct good movies. Do not go see any of his later work from the last 10 years. It is abysmal.
Bloody hell. Okay. So off the back of Will mentioning this, I've clicked on Jim, say his name again?
Jim Wynorski.
Wynorski. Okay, Jim Wynorski's Wikipedia page, which has brought up his filmography, and I was scrolling. I'm still scrolling, guys.
Yep.
This guy has made a gajillion movies, including, guys, 2023's movie Murderbot.
He went back to the well, baby.
We may have to, but let's look at some of there's Piranaconda, Dino Croc versus Super Gator, The Devil Wears Nada. Oh my God, guys.
Great.
We've got to watch that. Bear Wench, the final chapter, The Witches of Breastwick. This guy just went full
I
on.
actually
Oh,
have
he
seen that
does
one.
so he makes it can't be like adult-ish.
He's made the campy adult, the Bear
Like
Wench
Skinamax
Project.
movies, right?
Yeah,
God.
Thy Neighbor's Wife. Okay. But yes, but let's get back to like, oh my God, guys, the guy makes.
I think
He
he
made
is,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Look, 1995, executive produced. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 movies in 1995 alone that he produced, directed, or was involved with. 9 movies in a year.
he's a busy guy. I think he did the Bear Wench project. I think that was one of his.
Yes.
Which the only thing I remember about that movie is that it stars a bunch of porn stars. Naturally, it's exactly what you think it is. And I just remember at the end, after they survive the whole incident, the final girl is like talking with her friends and was like, "Oh man, I had such a great experience." And she's going off to another planet or something. She's getting in a spaceship, and she's saying goodbye to all her friends after surviving the Bear Wench adventure. And she's like, "I'm gonna miss you. I'm gonna miss you." And then the Scarecrow from Wizard of Oz is there, and she's like, "And I'm gonna miss you most, Scarecrow." And I remember thinking, like, that's actually funny. This movie's garbage. But just the fact that in the middle of this softcore porn parody, they got a guy in a full Scarecrow, like from Wizard of Oz outfit. She's like, "I'm gonna miss you," and he's like, "I'm gonna miss you too." Not in the rest of the movie. That's the only time he's there.
Okay.
So
I'm looking.
Jim
this up.
Wynorski, you got me once.
Bear Wench Project, Wizard of Oz. It even auto-completed because people have Googled
It
this.
just knows. Yeah. It was like the only thing I remember at the time being like, all right, you got me.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to find
So
that.
was that guy going head to head with the guy who made the Hard Ticket to Hawaii? Like these guys have a fucking porno rivalry.
These guys
I mean,
definitely, yeah.
listen, they're cut from the same cloth for sure.
Wow. Look, Deathstalker 2 looks amazing because poster.
Deathstalker 2 might have to be a group watch for us. I love that movie.
It's great, and I love it. It's an Argentinian/American movie, so
It certainly is.
They made them in Argentina to keep costs down during Pinochet's reign. He also did the return of Swamp Thing. He did a sequel to
yes,
a
he
movie
did.
we have done on the show.
I like that one. I think.
Wow.
That's the Heather Locklear one, yeah.
Yep.
I'm gonna have to get into this guy's filmography because it is weird.
Again, do not do it from the last 10 or 15 years. Like the first half of his career, you can you find some gems. But he comes from that Corman school of super low budget,
Super big tits.
super big tits.
Yeah, no, so many of these are Sorority House Massacre, Scream Queen Hot Tub Party, Sins of Desire. I mean, everything is Point of Seduction, Body Chemistry 3. Oh my God. This is just Bikini Drive-In. I like, seriously, this guy, I would have loved him when I was a teenage boy.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sounds like
It's,
my greatest director ever.
Oh.
Good God.
Suck it,
But,
Spielberg.
yeah, what do you,
Yeah.
yeah, man, you 2 movies in 1 year. Wuss.
Come on.
Did you guys get the post-credit scene? I did not. I did turn the movie off, but apparently there is a post-credit scene with a 4th unknown killbot, which
Ooh.
says "Have a nice day." So there's a tease. The opportunity for a sequel is there, guys. Can we get?
Like I said, I'm surprised there weren't like 10 of these fucking movies made.
I'm astounded there hasn't been. Actually, because it's not a bad movie. As in,
No.
it is.
Well,
I say it before. It does exactly what it says on the tin, except
yeah.
Except
no chopping.
nothing.
It's
else.
not an award
Yeah.
contender, but man, it's a fun schlocky group watch for sure.
Yeah. This is kind of the thing you want to see, especially like you got a party over, it's close to Halloween time. There are people that are like, I don't want to watch like a really scary movie. This is like the perfect party movie compromise where like everybody's gonna have a good time.
Yeah, because people
It's
are gonna
structured
die,
like a
but it's not
slasher.
scary.
Yeah.
At no point are you scared of this movie. You're just like going,
No.
what's gonna happen
Is
next?
is our dear friend Nick Calderon going to watch this movie? Probably not.
Should he? Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
The guy has a big screen and he lives in a state where weed is legal. The guy needs
Yeah.
to definitely enjoy
Listen,
this movie.
if you love horror, you love robots, and you love tits, I can't think of a better movie.
Yeah. Literally.
If only the robots had breasts themselves is the only way in that I feel that
Well, now
it
hang
could have elevated.
That's what did I say? Robitties. I do wish the robots had a little bit more personality for each, like unique for each 3 of the 3. I understand why it wouldn't make sense for that to happen in this one, but in the sequel, Chopping Mall 2,
Come on.
you
You gotta make it happen. We
get
need a
the
legacy
sequel doctor in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want 10 robots. I want them to all have their own personalities. I want a spider bot. I
dude,
want a
it's
vegetable
like-
bot. I want to.
It's kind of like it's bringing malls back. It's like malls are dying, but now they'll kill you. You know what I mean? It's like there's definitely.
There you go.
Oh,
Yeah.
write that
Yeah,
down.
just, okay. This
Or
is
now,
great.
like,
we're cooking.
have you guys
Yeah.
been to like a ramen style restaurant where they have the robots in the restaurant that come and like bring your food to you? I'm like,
Yep. Those are the only waiters I harass these days. Yeah.
sexually.
There's
Thanks, sweet cheeks. Then I slap the robot. And
Oh God.
send it on its way.
There's a book you should read, which initially was, the rumor was that Spielberg was going to adapt it. Chris Hemsworth is going to be in it, but it's a good book. It's called Robopocalypse. And it talks about it. It would have been a great Spielberg movie, but it's set in a world where, like AI goes over, but so self-driving cars sort of patrol the highways and they're all like linked, they're not separated by an inch, and the robots that look after old people are just throwing them down lifts and stuff like that. And so
I would
like,
watch
and then-
90 movies of just that. Or
Yeah.
just
Wasn't
That's what
that
I
just the
mean.
plot of iRobot?
It's
the last 10 minutes
Right.
of iRobot.
yeah, basically. But yeah, it's it's cool. But like you're right, and I think this was
It's
a
right
cool
for it.
idea. And even people are like, no man, it's commenting on Reagan-esque consumerism in the 80s, bro. And it's like it's a deeper movie than you're thinking. I go, is it though? But like,
Yeah, I don't know.
I think one of my, to boil this movie down is like, like Ryan is saying, one of the sort of Playboy Playmatian sort of characters who was probably a playmate, to be honest. But she's like, when I'm happy, everybody's happy. And he's like having to go get the cigarettes, but she just pulls down the thing and just shows her boobs and goes, hurry back. And he like, that's the movie.
Yeah.
Right there.
There you
Because
go.
then her head explodes. No, she burns to death, right? She burns to death.
No,
Or
Her
No,
head
her head
explodes.
explodes. Yeah.
her head explodes. And it's just, and I think that's such a great thing as well. It's so American, is like, because America is so fine with violence. And her punishment for showing us her breast is, well, we're going to blow her fucking head off.
Yeah.
It's like,
I do wish though, like it feels like coming out of the fucking gate with that head explosion, the budgetary like kills on the follow-up kills weren't at like you
They're
blew
not
your
as
fucking
memorable.
you blew your fucking load with that first one, and like everything else after that I'm like there was only one head explosion. Again, I watching this the afternoon I just saw Terrifier 3,
Yeah.
so this movie did nothing for me.
It's gonna be a bit of a letdown
Yeah,
in comparison. Yeah.
you were just numb. Just numb.
So
to
I
it
was soft the whole time.
So look, I'm just reading. So I mentioned that I said I recognized them more from Commando. So it turns out So it's the Sherman Oaks Galleria.
Oh,
But they were shooting around the same time. But due to budget constraints, Chopping Mall is being done after close of business. But can you imagine that during the day they're shooting Commando and at night they're shooting like this movie?
oh my God.
I mean, we
Imagine-
should have had Arnold fight one of these things.
Oh
Like
my
that's the
God.
only thing that would have improved. that
Here's
movie.
my pitch for a new movie, though. You get Will involved. Will is now working in a video store that's in the mall while these two movies are filming.
Ooh.
Dot,
There we
dot,
go.
dot.
Hashtag meta. Hashtag let's
Oops.
do it.
I am in.
How do we get what's his name to finance our fucking
Roger
movies?
Oh my God. So Jim Wynorski admits that Mary and Paul ad-lib most of their lines. Okay. All right. As much as I said I don't like
This-
improv, in this
This
case,
movie,
it worked.
this movie had a script. Okay,
It was shot
Barely.
in 22 days.
that's crazy. Yeah,
It's crazy it took that long. The budget was about $800,000, which is pretty good.
it had to be for all the robots.
Yeah.
There was, I liked it as well, was that it's very quick, but the very quick, the day the earth stood still reference.
Oh,
Where
is
the
the movie they're
character
watching?
No, because he comes in, I think he says it to one of the bots. or
Oh,
he
the
says,
Klaatu.
Klaatu
Yeah,
Barada.
yeah. Okay,
I
yes,
was like,
yes.
oh.
I know that from Evil Dead.
Yeah, even
Yeah.
making references.
Army of
This is
Darkness.
great.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this movie. Okay, yes, the character Alison Parks was named after Playboy Playmate Alison Parks, even though she wasn't a Playboy Playmate. God, they say they wrote the story in 24 hours. I'll believe that.
We could tell.
Yeah, but they landed on the title immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Killbot. Like, would you want to watch a movie called Killbots?
Yes.
Nah.
Yes.
I mean, I don't
And
know.
Shopping Mall is by far one of the best titles I've ever heard for a movie.
That's the thing. I think it's a combination of like, picture yourself then walking down like a movie theater aisle, seeing the poster for this, seeing Shopping Mall, and being so disappointed that it's just three fucking
Yeah.
KB Toys
fine.
robots.
So I'm throwing this one out here, guys. In 2023, James Wan announced that he wants to remake this.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean,
He's good at
I'm-
horror.
okay.
No?
yeah.
And
Only-
I keep
that
I-
first-
I keep telling you guys to watch Malignant because it's fucking insane and hilarious.
Yeah, I've heard about it. It's just my my buddy's in that. He's the cop. A friend of mine from Singapore is in that movie. I just haven't seen it yet. But no, I mean, for me, it's the first Aquaman movie. That movie rocks. It's like it should be terrible, but it's not.
I mean,
Um,
I've only seen the last 30 minutes of Aquaman 2,
Well,
and let me tell you
mate,
about good
that's like
cinema.
The Ring. You watch the last 30 minutes of Aquaman 2, you will die within a week.
Oh, God.
It's like-
I will say
But
it
if
is
you
the
watch the
funniest
first-
30 minutes of any
if-
movie I've ever seen.
But if you watch the first 5 minutes of Chopping Mall, you'll live forever.
yeah,
Yes.
for real.
It balances out.
I can easily see, I don't know about him, but I can see this movie being remade. Get me like a Jason Eisner, the guy who did Hobo with a Shotgun. Like, you need someone that
Mhm.
can do these like homage type of, but the violence has got to be fucking cranked up to 100.
Yeah.
I'd think set it in the same mall the next day. Set it in the 80s. We don't need it now.
Yeah,
Make
Yes.
an homage sort of sequel, but make it in the 80s as well. Just have some
For
fun
sure.
with it.
yeah.
Like, but I would watch the shit out of that. I mean,
Yeah.
because I'm not kidding. I'm
What?
thrilled that this movie is on YouTube. Like I said at the beginning of the show, guys, just type in Chopping Mall. You'll find there's a couple of random channels that have just uploaded the whole movie.
Doing the Lord's work. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's also what's kind of fun is that when you watch these sort of like uploaded to YouTube ones, it's like banging in a VHS. The
Mhm.
quality's
it's
not
exactly like.
It's like-
yeah. I know what you
which
mean.
just adds to the flavor
It feels illegal
Yeah.
because it is.
Right. Yeah.
It's all right. I'm not breaking the law. Whoever uploaded it is. So it's
Yeah.
okay. YouTube put ads on it, so it's fine.
I mean, I'll say I am a good citizen. I bought this on Blu-ray. So that
Have
is,
it on Blu-ray.
of course
That's
I do.
cool.
Does it
Yeah.
have the 19 minutes that were cut out in it?
I think
Ooh.
it does. I think it does have deleted scenes. I haven't checked out any of the special features yet. I just was really
It's 19 minutes of the robots with breasts, like we said, and they were like, guys, it's not working.
Yeah.
I want to see like a version of this movie in a different language where the robots have like an Italian accent. Or something like-
Have a nice day. Yeah.
Aw. Yes, an Italian accent, but all still in English.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Not they're
Yeah.
not speaking.
It was the
Italian.
80s. It was a different time.
I mean,
Yeah.
I just love the fact that it's just who cares, you know, because it's like,
Yeah.
you know, there are people asking questions at the beginning. Yeah, but that's kind of dangerous, isn't that kind of dangerous?
This movie does
Right.
this movie. Just another thing to bring up. This movie does my favorite thing that I think all horror movies do, and like most action movies too. Like no one ever acknowledges or dwells on the thing that just happened. So these people are watching each one of their friends brutally murdered one after the other, but just keep on trucking. Like they don't like you get to the end of the movie and it's the two like the couple that doesn't have sex. They're gonna have like an insane amount of trauma to deal with watching their friends fucking burned alive, head exploded. Like
Yeah.
what happens next?
No, they're definitely going to go bone, is what they're going to go do.
Yeah.
It's like-
And the
then that
fourth robot will
robot,
track them
yeah.
down. Yeah.
It absorbed the power of the other robots.
Oh my god, this movie's just getting better and better with every
Yeah,
second.
it writes itself, really.
But like, no joke, Will, it was I think we did the mall episode just so we could find a reason to do Chopping Mall. I
Oh,
think.
100%.
Oh yeah.
100%.
Whole premise is a thinly veiled excuse to watch this movie.
But it was
Yeah.
a treasure. Yet again, Will, you've added a movie to my repertoire that's one that I treasure, that I will recommend to people, and I will re-watch over and over again. And just every
Yeah.
time I think I know all the good movies, Will, you show me I know shit. I don't know nothing.
Yeah. Now on to the Bear Wench Project.
Oh my god. Is it a play on the Blair Witch Project? But it has nothing to do with that?
More than
Has
likely,
very little to do.
in
Yeah.
the
just
same way
in-
that
just-
Chopping Mall has no chopping and no aliens and no like robot arms and stuff like that. It's just killbots. But you know what? Who cares?
Yeah.
Cares. You know, at this point, usually I'd get us into the debate about which one is the best representation of the mall culture, which is the one. It doesn't matter, guys. Chopping Mall's the winner. There's one winner and two other movies
Sure.
that just existed this week. I don't mean like.
I mean, the one thing I will say that this movie didn't have is I don't think it really captured like the idea of mall culture like we talked about, like because you don't really see the mall during the daytime. Again, none of that matters.
Because a commando was running around it during the day.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
He was running around commando. The guy from Observe and Report was running around commando in the mall. No.
Oh, it's full circle. No, but
'Cause
let's
his
get
penis
into
was
it. No,
out.
let's actually get into it. As much as I want to say Chopping Mall's the winner of everything, but you're right. Is that when it gets to Observe and Report, we do get that idea of the generic nature of malls. Like I said, the mall looks exactly like the mall that is in Waco, near to where I live. It looks like every kind of generic mall. It's got the mini train, it's got the security guys, it's got the food court, it's got, you know, the weird characters and the mall runners and stuff like that. And like, you know, I guess honestly, the only one that really shows any mall culture is Observe and Report. Dawn of the Dead gives us the mall setting, you know, and it's like, and then they're surrounded by the zombies, and I like that throwaway line going, maybe it's instinct, you know, it's just the brain dead people just going to the mall to consume, you know. In this case, they want to consume human.
That's a great fucking line. Yeah.
You know, but like, you know, and then we get, like you're saying, when it comes to Chopping Mall, we got maybe 5-10 minutes of the mall being open.
It's just a horror movie that's set in a mall after hours, right?
Yeah, for budgetary concerns. So no, okay. Technically, then, Observe and Report is leading the way. I'm looking for.
Fuck you, fuck you, Ronnie.
I'm looking for a compelling argument, though. So, Will, what do you think?
No, actually, I was gonna throw the ball back in Observe and Report's favor, because this is, you know, I worked in a mall too, and it's much closer to the feeling of like when you worked at the mall, the weird people you'd work with and stuff, and just you know, all the shops, even though all the shops are fictional in it, they're all close enough to things you'd see, you know, at an actual mall.
Yeah.
It feels like what we all used to experience when we go to the mall. I mean, we are kind of acting like malls are dead. They still exist. Arizona Mills is still open.
They do, but you've gone to it? It feels
no,
different.
God no.
I used to take and eat mushrooms and walk around that mall because it was like walking around a fucking carnival. It was awesome. They had
they had the weird.
It was super cool. Now it's very much an outlet mall.
Yeah,
but still, the Rainforest Cafe is still there.
Hell yeah! I think they would riot if that
save
got
the
away.
rainforest.
Save the Rainforest Cafe.
So, okay, fine. We have to do it. But you're right. The one movie that really does capture them all is Observe and Report, which here at the... See, I'm so reluctant. Yeah, well, here at the United States of Movie, the movie that won Best Mall is Observe and Report, but the one that I want to talk about is Chopping Mall! It's the greatest movie ever made!
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can give it. There's no losers here.
No,
There's
no.
no like
No,
I think
losers.
fair enough.
But
At least
no,
until Chopping Mall 2 comes out.
Well, the thing is, I
Yeah.
will say this. Okay, Observe and Report, fine. You do have more mall than, because you get the idea of it. But what were some of the other movies? Because, like I said, Mallrats was one that my missus was amazed we weren't doing.
Yeah.
I don't so much understand the incredulity only because I've never seen it.
I think we could have probably picked that instead of that could have replaced Observe and Report just because it is a very much grounded story in a mall instead of fucking zombies or robots. So that probably would have been a good supplement.
But
And
any other
probably would've
movies that
won.
I'm not thinking about, like who, like I mean, could we have done Clueless? That was sort of like a quasi. It's not all set.
I
in
don't
mall,
think
but it's like it's
I don't
got
think
that,
there's
you know,
any.
a bit of a
Yeah.
scene there. You know,
Bill and Ted's would like everyone would say that, but only a bit of that takes place in a mall.
Yeah. I'm trying to think other than Mallrats. Yeah. Uh, God, I feel like I feel like right now as we're talking, there's one big one that we're missing, and I can't.
well, you know
think
what?
of what it
Interesting.
is.
So I just topped in like best mall movies, right? And it turns out it goes Mallrats,
Yeah.
Observe and Report.
Oh, Jackie Brown for sure.
There you
yeah.
go. See, Jackie. So Chopping Mall, Bill and Ted, Paul Blart, and Jackie Brown. So when I sort of like get more into it, there's not a crazy amount of mall movies.
Ooh, I think career opportunities just to see Jennifer Connelly riding on that thing. That would have been great.
Phantom of the Mall, Eric's Revenge.
Yes, there
I
is
think
that one.
Bad Santa's another one.
Bad Santa. Yeah, that's another one. That could have been quite...
Season 3 of Stranger Things.
Yeah, yeah, you know, you're right. But yeah, no, funny enough, like the ones that we went with are actually pretty spot on. Okay, the only
It's not
sort
a
of
lot.
really obvious one being Mallrats,
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
which I've never seen, which I guess I'm gonna have to.
Oh,
Well,
there you go.
guys, we covered them all because, well, we finally found a way to talk about Shopping Mall, which was such a joy. Thank you so much. But in the same sort of vein, in the same sort of spirit, I can't believe it's already happened, guys, but we're back in spooky season.
Yeah.
I honestly feel like we just did our State of Fear episode because I'm still recovering from watching Barbarian, but now I realize that was a year ago and I have to do this all over again.
Well, we also just re-released it too, and I
did.
just re-listened to it. I'm like, this is a great episode.
I'm not ready for this. I'm not ready for this. But guys, next week we're gonna do a State of Fear. We're gonna do Halloween, and I was gonna throw something out to you guys. Do you guys want to pick my movie for me?
I feel like
Oh.
Because I don't like when it comes to horror. I'm a complete. I don't know anything. There's nothing. So I'll tell you what. You guys can pick my movie. All right. I'm gonna take my hands off the wheel for this one. You know, Jesus, take the wheel. Like.
Why'd you look at me when he said that?
Yeah, you don't have your beard anymore.
I know.
Yeah, so look, next week we're going to do our State of Fear Halloween special where, as always, you guys know I hate horror movies. I don't like being scared. These guys have tortured me a few times already. Though I am also appreciating the genre more for what it is. But next week we're going to have 3 movies, horror genre. The guys are going to pick a movie for me. So if you like Schadenfreude, if you like watching people squirm, if you want to watch me cry like a little bitch, then make sure you join us next week for our State of Fear special. Fellas, thank you for this week. This was a fun week, but more than anything, Will, thanks for changing my life by bringing this joy to my life. I want to put movie parties together to show people this movie. That's how
I don't know about you guys,
yeah.
but I could really go for an Orange Julius right about now.
I was gonna say I'm about to go to the Culver City Mall, not too far away. So it could be my day.
Brag.
What are you gonna do? Explode some fucking heads?
Well, fellas, I can't wait till next week. Well, actually, I can, but this is going to be a terrifying one. Thank you very much for this week. Now, for anybody at home, don't forget, you can follow along with our adventures. You can come and join us on our Facebook page. You can find us at the United States of a Movie. You can chat with us on Reddit if you really want to. You can find me online as That Englishman in Texas or Ollie Pettigrew on Facebook. You'll find my videos where usually every Monday I'm talking about movies. primarily the movies we do on this podcast. Will has a great TikTok. Find him as Entitled Willennial. He's got a huge library of Blu-rays and novelizations of the movies that he enjoys as well. And you can very often find him recommending some really cool and interesting movie watches with a little bit of movie history. And Ryan is a fantastic designer, especially when it comes to reimagining movie posters. Like, for example, his Substance movie poster that got retweeted by the director of the movie because it was an excellent design. You can find his designs, merch, and things like that from our podcast at Rhino Digital, RYNO Digital. You can find him on Threadless, on Etsy, on OnlyFans, Grindr, wherever you want to.
It's the only place I'm subscribed to him.
Only bots.
Speaking of subscribed, if you haven't subscribed, do us a favor, subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit that little notification bell for when we drop our videos, midnight every Monday morning. Drop in the comments as well. We love it when you tell us that we're wrong, especially when it comes to Will posting controversial memes, which is always hilarious to me. But outside of that, guys, it's always a pleasure to do this from me, from Ryan, from Will. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the United States of Movie Podcast. I'm going to go watch Chopping Mall now.